Hey, welcome to today's video. I'm Rick Sheppo with DMCA Today we're taking a look at the DMCA and the tech giants. Ooh, the tech giants. Yes, we're talking about the Facebooks and Googles of the world here. And as you may have noticed, things have turned the last few years. Whereas these companies were lauded and held up as great entrepreneurial ventures, and Google had their "Do No Evil" slogan. Well, those days have changed. Now people are starting to pay attention to these companies and realizing, they're up to no good in some situations. Well, you can't really say no good, but they're certainly taking actions that might be a little questionable once people realize they're happening. Certainly the monetization of data has been one of the big issues. And then you have things like the Cambridge Analytica scandal and the fact that Google's been sucking up information from children under 13, small children. They just agreed to a $170 million settlement with the FTC over that little shenanigan. And you can see why the tide's turning in regards to how people and, more importantly, governments view these tech giants. And the question is, how wide is the backlash going to spread? Because one of the key things that protects the tech giants is the DMCA, certainly in the instance of copyright. So the DMCA, I'm sure you know, but let's just talk about it. Safe harbor. What it says essentially is that a website or an app cannot be held liable for copyright infringement based on content uploaded by users. So let's use one of the tech giants as an example, Facebook. Let's say that I have a page on Facebook. I go to the new Joker movie. I think it's great. And in fact, I record it all on my phone for some strange reason. And then I turn around and I post it to my Facebook page. So under the DMCA, I have committed copyright infringement, and the producers of the movie or whoever owns the rights to it can sue me for copyright infringement. But can they sue Facebook? And the answer is no. As long as Facebook is compliant with the DMCA, Facebook is immune. Now, before you get too fired up, that immunity extends to any company in that position, including a tiny company. So, for instance, let's say you have a forum on bird watching. You're probably not bringing in hundreds of millions of dollars. I don't know. Maybe you are. Bird watching is surprisingly popular, but let's just say you're not exactly pulling in the cash. Okay. Well, the DMCA is going to protect you as the forum owner as well. So it's not really focused on how big the companies are. Anybody can take advantage of it. And so the question, though, is, with the tech giant backlash that we're seeing, it's starting to spread beyond, the basic areas of privacy that really are kind of the hardcore situation. And if we look in Europe, we see that they have a new copyright directive that was very controversial. And in many ways, it does away with the safe harbor idea. And instead, large tech companies are going to have to do filtering. So they're going to have to filter out infringing content. And that's a slippery slope, because who knows if something's infringing or not. If I post a video, let's say I post a photo of my friend. I have a buddy. He is a male model for motorcycle companies, of all things. So let's say I post a photo of him up there sitting on a motorcycle. How is Facebook going to tell if that's my photo and it's not copyright infringement, or if it's a photo that a professional photographer took that would have been in a magazine, and so on and so forth, and I don't have the rights? It's not entirely clear how that's going to work. We've already seen this in action with the Content ID system on YouTube, which, if you post videos to YouTube, is a bit maddening. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it catches non-infringing content, and other times it lets infringing content blow right through. So it's difficult to see how all that's going to play out, but it is a change in attitude that we've seen in Europe. And the question, is that going to flow into the US? And there are some signs that it may. NAFTA is currently being renegotiated between Mexico, Canada, and the United States. And the United States trade groups are trying to argue that the safe harbor provision, as it relates to that treaty, should not be included. That should be excluded. And so that would be a major change, because then it raises questions about, well, how do we deal with copyright infringement online? And certainly, let's be quite frank, the tech giants probably don't care. One, they have so much money. What are you really going to do to them? Facebook just paid a $5 billion fine recently, and their stock went up, which means that didn't exactly cause them much harm, did it? But how about the smaller guys? What happens to forums if the DMCA disappears? Now, what they did in Europe was they positioned the copyright directive to only affect companies that move, quote unquote, large amounts of data. However, that provision is actually out of the last copyright clause. And so they put in a $10 million provision that said if you don't make $10 million in gross revenues in your first 3 years, at any point in your first 3 years, then you'll have a safe harbor and you don't have to comply. But what happens in that fourth year? So if it's the fourth year, let's say you have your bird watching form, it's the fourth year, and let's say you bring in 10 grand in a year, just through some AdSense ads or something of that sort. How do you comply? And so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But the important thing is the DMCA is very controversial. Copyright owners hate it. And a lot of free speech people hate it as well. So there aren't a lot of advocates for the act. And probably the only people who would really advocate for it are online companies, and only the big tech giants would have the lobbying power to do that. And right now, since they're so unpopular, you have to wonder about the fate of the DMCA, and could it actually be crushed here in the next few years? And I don't have an answer for you. I don't even have a prediction. But if you'd asked me that question 2 years ago, I would have said no way. And now it's more up in the air. So whatever your feelings are about the DMCA, you might want to create a Google alert, Google News alert or something of that sort, and keep an eye on developments. Certainly we'll be posting videos here on it. But, is the DMCA at risk? Not imminent risk, but certainly people are paying closer attention to it in the political arena. And, so changes are something that could possibly happen. So anyways, just kind of an overview as to where the DMCA stands and, the wreckage that the tech giants have caused, how it's spreading not only to the DMCA, but to other issues online as well. So anyways, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, please give me a thumbs up. If not, I feel shame. Obviously, our channel is devoted to the DMCA. We provide DMCA agent services, so feel free to subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, post them below. Be happy to respond to them. Otherwise, have yourself a good one.